Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Streamed and Screened, an entertainment podcast about movies and TV from Lee Enterprises. I'm Terry Lipshetz, managing editor of the National Newsroom at Lee, and co-host of the program with the award-winning Bruce Miller, editor of the Sioux City Journal and a longtime entertainment reporter. It's award season, Bruce.
It is awards time, and they've started. They have started. In fact, all of the critics' awards are starting to pour out right now, and there is no real leader among any of them. You'll hear, a name here, a name there, but one hasn't been dominating the whole parade of them, which is interesting because that'll make it a better year as we get closer to the Oscars. But I think it starts streamlining. After a while, they have a couple of these ceremonies, and then it's like, okay, she won twice there, so I bet you any money she's a front runner. Because if you have like the Golden Globes, the Critics' Choice, the Screen Actors Guild Awards, those are pretty good bellwethers right there of what's going to get nominated for the Oscars.
Yep. Yeah, and we just, of course, we're talking about the Golden Globe nominations, which just came out this week, which are interesting because on one hand, we get a bit of a preview for what's coming with the Oscars, but on the other hand, there's also the TV categories, which kind of pick up a little bit with where we just had the Emmys, and some of those overlap with this, but then we also get some other shows that because of the timing maybe missed the last Emmy group, might be for next year. So this is kind of a tweener type of award, in between the Emmys.
And it's an interesting thing because it used to be the foreign press.
Right.
They were the ones voting for this, and then they disbanded. Dick Clark Productions bought the rights to do the Golden Globes, and we don't really know who the voters are. So in the old days, it used to be they liked having big name stars. And if they nominated them, it was likely they would show to the big show.
Right.
And they would also try to give like a TV series that was new. They wanted to be the first to give them an award. I don't know if that all holds true now. Because it is a different, hopefully, voting pool than they had before. But they're still kind of star hungry. They're still poking those names out, and you're going, oh, really? And this year, because we had Demi Moore back, Pamela Anderson back, there are those kinds of like, oh, this might be interesting. So that's what the Globes look like. But I don't think they made a mistake with some of the nominations. I think they have some pretty good ones in both the picture and musical picture.
Yeah.
Although it might be like misplaced, but.
Yeah. I mean, Golden Globes, it is a bit of a looser atmosphere. Like, it's the only time you might tune in and see Kathy Bates, eating shrimp cocktail.
Right.
They're all hanging out at tables. Late in the show, if one of the movies or TV shows is kind of a big winner, it's clear that table is getting pretty lit by the end of the show. The champagne is flowing, and it's a lot different than maybe the button-down Oscars or Emmys.
Somebody could be in the bathroom while their category is called, and it's
right.
Like, do I wait in line or do I run out and get the award? Okay, so they divide everything into two kind of sections for the movies. They'll have the comedy musical, which is a free-for-all, and then drama. The drama nominees are probably the ones that will mirror what you'll see for the Oscars.
Right.
In the comedy musical category, they've got Wicked. Okay, that's going to be on anybody's list at some point because it's just too big.
Yep.
You can't ignore it. Anora, which is that one that we talked about with Mikey Madison, is one of those small films that will get great attention, and she will be nominated for Best Actress in the Oscars. Emilia Perez, another big one that normally you'd consider it a drama, but there's singing in it, so it's a musical, right? Challengers, this is kind of your pitch toward the big names. Zendaya is in that, and that's that tennis film.
Right.
Probably won't make the cut in other ones. A Real Pain is a comer. This is one that you'll see a lot about, and it probably will win Best Supporting Actor. That's a solid one. And then the weird kind of extra in the category is The Substance, and that's the one where Demi Moore takes this kind of anti-aging thing, and she produces Margaret Qualley. And then she has to, it's like Cinderella. You only got till midnight to be this younger person, and then you've got to switch over and be the hag that you are. I don't know that that's going to get into any Best Picture race, but it is one that's in the conversation. And to me, more as the kind of if they're going to give one to an older person that's been away for a while, she could be the one.
Right.
In the drama area, this is more solid, if you think. The Brutalist, which is epic. It's what Megalopolis wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
So if you remember, Coppola had that big kind of sprawling whatever about an architect. And this is about an architect. But it has an architect with a story that goes back. It's 4 hours or something. It has an intermission. It's going to be a player. It'll be a player. And then A Complete Unknown, which is the Bob Dylan story with Timothée Chalamet. And I did an interview with them yesterday. It's interesting how very deferential they are to the material and to Bob Dylan. They're practically bowing at the altar of.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting. The movie is filled with music and a lot of names you recognize, but the faces you might not recognize as the names. But that could be a player. Conclave, that's the one about picking the Pope, and that'll be in there. Dune Part 2 is in here, but I think it's going to lose its luster. That was too early in the year, and they're going to go, I don't care. And then we have The Nickel Boys, which we'll talk more about, and then September 5th, which I really, really loved, and I hope it is somewhere.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that.
So those are the big picture nominees, but then they're kind of screwy because it's Golden Globes. And they have another category that they throw in there called Cinematic and Box Office Achievement, which means, of course, here's where we put those crap films that you really all went to, but they're not award worthy. They're just kind of there. So there you get Alien Romulus, Beetlejuice, Deadpool and Wolverine, Gladiator 2, Inside Out 2, Twisters, Wicked, and The Wild Robot.
Now I've actually seen most of those movies. I saw Alien, saw Beetlejuice, did not see Deadpool, have not yet seen Gladiator 2, saw Inside Out 2, I saw Twisters, I just saw Wicked, have not seen Wild Robot. This one actually fascinates me. Who do you think wins in that category?
Well, Wicked is so big that I think Wicked is going to win the Best Musical Comedy category.
Right.
And so if they gave them another one, here's a way for them to spread the wealth and give it to something else. Mm-hmm. If they don't win the comedy musical category, they'll definitely win this one.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. I am a little like Beetlejuice. I was looking so much to that one. I was so happy to see, hey, Beetlejuice.
That was a disappointment.
Nah, that is not winning this category. I'm sorry. I thought Twisters was a fun one. Like there's one that could win because it had a lot of special effects. It was kind of it kept you on the edge of your seat. It played close to the original, but had its own story as well. So I wouldn't mind seeing that one win there. Or Alien Romulus. I love the Alien movies, so you can't go wrong there.
It seemed like so long ago. I didn't even remember it.
So long ago. It is. I know. It was during the summer. I agree. The Best Picture drama that looks largely like your 5 main competitors, and then of course they'll add in 5 more to round it up to 10. So yeah, Wicked or Challengers or something, or Anora will probably also end up in that Best Picture list. Of course, Inside Out 2 will, just because always one of those Disney cartoons ends up as a Best Picture nominee, and it of course never wins. But when you're picking 10, you might as well toss them a bone. So yeah, it's interesting list.
Yeah, since they cracked the door to 10 instead of 5, it's a lot more lenient.
Yes.
It's always a thrill to watch. How are they going to reward these? Because usually they give everything something. So if you got 10 films, of those 10 films, look and see which one would be like Best Actress, Best Actor.
Yeah.
And then that might be their kiss off, and that's all they get. And then you'll see something that might have a little traction in the craft categories. And that's where Wicked's going to really shine.
Yeah.
It's going to win costumes and sets. You might as well just print the ballot with one name on it. That's all you have to do.
Right. It is kind of fun, too, just looking down some of the list of actors and actresses that have been nominated. Like, in what world would you have ever seen Pamela Anderson nominated along with Angelina Jolie and Nicole Kidman and Tilda Swinton?
Yeah. Well, and see, it's reinventing herself. This is her chance to be thought of as an actress, a real actress, not just a swimsuit actress. I think she did a thing earlier this year where she wasn't going to wear makeup. So she wanted to show what 50 really looks like or whatever age she might be. I think she's playing that same game as Demi Moore because she's showing what 60 looks like, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, Ariana Grande. I guess that's an interesting one too, where you've got the two in Wicked who they're kind of equal screen time, but one is best actress and one is best supporting actress.
Yeah, they chose that because in the Broadway version of Wicked, they both were in the best actress category and only one could win.
Right.
And they didn't say, oh, let's give it to both of them and we'll tie the vote. They weren't able to do that. And I think that just led them to believe, okay, here's where we have a better shot. Let's make one best actress and one supporting. And I really think Ariana Grande has a strong, strong chance of winning everything.
I agree. She was really good. She showed up on a Saturday Night Live early in the season, and I thought she was so good in it. She's so versatile.
She did a lot of voices, too.
It was fun to watch her. We've talked about this previously, but
yeah,
it really changed my perception of her, that she's a much stronger actor than we've given her credit for.
Like the year that Ariana DeBose won for West Side Story, that was kind of a, if you will, coming out party for her.
Mm-hmm.
And then she started getting bigger roles. And I think that's the same thing with this for Ariana Grande. We think of her as a pop star, but I think this is her opening into films, and she could be a big Lady Gaga style film actor.
Yes, absolutely. Anything else of note on the...
Are people who are left off. And because they only have like 5 or so in the supporting categories, that's where you're going to see the biggest kind of like, what? And there's an actor from Sing Sing that didn't get nominated for Best Supporting Actor and really should, because he may be the one to beat.
Okay.
But it's Golden Globes. So, there's time to clean this all up. It's not like he's out of the hunt. Some of these ones, I bet people didn't even see the films and they put them in. Because a lot of them, I saw a film over the weekend, Nosferatu, which is coming out at Christmas.
Oh,
and it's not listed anywhere here. And I could put it in a number of those categories. And in some of the other ones where visual effects,
right.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a first pass. I think that's how we best view that.
One other observation I'll make on the movie side before we just sneak over to TV briefly. And we talked a little bit about Moana 2 last week, but its only nomination was in animated, and it didn't even get a nomination for song. And you had mentioned a week ago that it really, without Lin-Manuel Miranda, it was... they're just not as good. And here this is it's a musical. Every Disney movie always gets a song nominated, right? That's what it seems like.
They sound too much like the original Moana sounds.
Yeah.
I think it would be shameful when the one EGOT letter that Lin is missing is the O.
Right.
That they would be nominated and possibly win, and then he wasn't part of it. Based on something that he helped create, I think I think that's where they're kind of slapping hands and saying, you know what? You needed the real guy. You should have spent the money.
You know where your business would be without you. Imagine where it could go with more of you. Well, with Wix, you can create a website with more of your vision, your voice, your expertise. Wix gives you the freedom to truly own your brand and do it on your own. With full customization and advanced AI tools that help turn your ideas into reality. Scale up without being held back by cookie-cutter solutions and grow your business into your online brand. Because without you, your business is just business as usual. Take control. Go to Wix.com.
They kind of start with their summer season a little... It wouldn't be included in the Emmys. They still have a season that hasn't been seen. But in the Golden Globes... they are considered, their third season would be considered for these.
Okay.
So it's screwy. But they did give the Bear nominations. So at least there's that.
For these Golden Globes, the Bear is being nominated for season 3, correct?
Right.
And it's still in the musical. When we talked about this, like they had to, season 2 was not funny, and it was in everybody's, best comedy. Here we are. Season 3 was definitely not funny. There was not. I don't know if I laughed a single
I don't think
moment.
I laughed once. No,
it was, but it's, as a drama, it was awesome. It was a tremendous drama. I won't normally say this, but I hope it loses because it doesn't. But in my mind, it doesn't belong. And I don't even like. I didn't watch Abbott Elementary. I didn't see Hacks. I did see Nobody Wants This, and I'll vote for Nobody Wants This before The Bear because it's funny. I laughed.
Sure. And you look at some of those ones that are really recent in terms of being on television. You go, wait a minute, should that be next year? So it's hard to square who's where and who's what. Like Baby Reindeer, for example, was big in all the last run of Emmys and other awards. And so you think, well, that was last year. And then you look at, well, wait a minute. Now the Penguin was that was just this fall, wasn't it?
It just wrapped, I think.
So that, that's kind of an odd competition situation. And they've already recast Mr. and Mrs. Smith, so it's not going to be those two. And they were in so long ago, I really think it was last year. That's how it rolls with the Golden Globes. And all it is a chance to see those big names at a party and see how kind of abusive they can get with their peers.
Yeah. I can't get too excited about the TV awards for the Golden Globes. It's a little bit more, to me, it's kind of, I'd rather look at the Emmys. I'm more interested in the film side of it because I think it gives us a look at, a glimpse at what the Oscars might bring us. And it's a good lead into that, but that's really all it is. And I do, the special awards, I see the Cecil B. DeMille Award is going to Viola Davis. You've got a Carol Burnett Award going to Ted Danson. So, that's kind of nice, like to honor some of the greats in one way or another. I mean, they're, everybody loves them. We're bringing them out.
Well, and they see now what area have we not covered with these awards? All right, here's how. Well, we'll create one, and here's a way of getting an old person out there.
Yep.
So let's give them an award, and then they bring their coterie or their collection of friends.
Yeah, I will say this about Ted Danson, the dude who for the longest time was only known for really Cheers and making some kind of fun movies, I guess, but not necessarily, high art with like
3 Men and a Baby. Yeah.
But he's really kind of turned into this versatile actor late in his career where he shows up, he look at him on things like Curb Your Enthusiasm. Wow. He had that season in Fargo where he was really good. It's like, wow, where have you been?
He's in there entering his Alan Alda years.
He is.
Okay, we'll throw Alan in. Now it's throw Ted in.
Yeah, we're going to end up with some it'll be, Martin Scorsese film coming up and Ted Danson will be in it. It'll be something goofy like that. And you're like,
and
wow.
He'll be the big heavy. Oh my God. Oscar. It's Oscar, right there.
It's Oscar season. Kind of backing things up, though, to the movies. There's one, we talked a little bit about it last week. You have some interviews, and that's Nickel Boys.
I'll tell you, Nickel Boys is such an artistic achievement, and I'm not using that term lightly, but it is really different from most films. It's a story of two boys at a reform school where they're very brutal and mean and nasty and awful. Mm-hmm. It's shot like a documentary. It has a different view so that when the camera is on a character, it's like another character is talking to that character. And this is a process that RaMell Ross, the director, decided he wanted to use because he thought that the film was, the book that it's based on, was more poetic than ever. And he wanted somehow to convey that. And so this process is really, really unique. And I think it needs to have that kind of attention. I think it should be nominated for editing, for cinematography, for director, and for picture. And I don't know that it'll get it because it's a smaller film and it's an uphill battle for those kinds of films.
Sure.
But here's RaMell talking about it. He's also an adjunct professor. And so you get a chance. I asked about the students and you'll see what he has to say about that. But here's the director of Nickel Boys, RaMell Ross. I'm curious, when you read the book the first time, did the visual style come to you right away, or when did that happen?
It did, Bruce. It came right away, and of course it was developed over the course of the writing process, but I did know it would be POV, and I knew that it would be or I hope that it would be, a poetic approach inside the structure of Coulson's narrative.
How difficult was it talking to your actors then and saying, okay, we're going to try this and we're going to do this? Were they like freaked?
Well, we didn't overemphasize how it would be filmed because we wanted them to, of course, be as comfortable as possible embodying their characters or, becoming their characters. So I think it was more a surprise for them that it would be directly in camera and there wouldn't be as much movement as normal because it's single point perspective. They all adjusted well. Sometimes you can share too much information, Bruce,
Oh. Okay, then now when you've shown the film to your students, what do they say about it?
Oh, my students have not seen the film.
They haven't?
I mean, that would be awesome. It's just that we haven't released it and I'm on sabbatical so I could, talk with you all and travel. So they haven't seen it yet.
Wow. Are you ready for that? Are you ready for their criticism?
Because they know me so well, they're going to be really frank. So I am looking forward to it,
How is the transition from documentary filmmaking to narrative filmmaking? Is that difficult?
I imagine under other circumstances, it would be difficult. Here, I felt, completely supported by the producers and by the collaborators. And no one ever asked me to make any sort of distinctions between documentary and fiction. They allowed me to do the thing that I do. So I was able to kind of be fairly fluid between the two genres.
Do you think you'll shift back and forth? Or now do you say, oh, no, this is my new world. I want this?
Well, I mean, I do like doing these press junkets and having all these conversations, which is not something I had so much with Hale County this evening. But for me, it's more where the material wants to be. If it wants to be in the fiction space, then it'll be there. If it wants to be in the doc space, it'll be there. If it wants to slide and be slippery in between, then that's where it'll land.
Could you do a documentary about those kinds of schools?
I think so, but I think it has a different register, right, and a different resonance. When you make a documentary film, I think one thing that's really powerful is that a person entering into the encounter with the medium is predisposed to an encounter with truth. They know that they're coming into something that's truthful, and that sets them up for a certain type of interaction. In the fiction space, having them enter the fiction space, but then be forced to be in conversation with documentary modes of media production, I think is jarring and maybe fruitful. So it just kind of all depends on what one's looking for.
What do you want people who see this to learn? What are you trying to teach us in this film?
I hope if learning is the goal of this response, I think it would be to learn about yourself. We fundamentally think we know a lot about ourselves. While also, I think, always know that we're evolving and developing. But I hope that this type of film puts up a very specific type of mirror, which I think is useful.
Well, what did you find out about you?
I found out that I'm more interested in others than myself. No, I think I found out that it's actually possible to employ the camera in a way that touches on the emotional internal tenors of an audience without using expected modes.
Sure. Well, thank you so much. It was very moving. I was very moved by the film, and I didn't think I was going to be, and I was.
That means a lot. Thank you. Thank you.
Get those students to weigh in on it. I'm dying to hear how that goes.
Me too. I'm going to wait, though, so that, they don't crush me.
Thanks, Bruce, for that interview. Fascinating insight from RaMell, and hearing from him. I was also an adjunct professor at one time.
Well, there you go. Seeing it wouldn't show masterpiece. It's not coming out, right?
Right. Exactly.
Are you working on it right now? And it's like, I have this idea where we don't show any faces. It's just voices in the dark.
Voices. You had another interview, though.
Yeah,
right?
and this is one who I think is potential for Best Supporting Actress. She was nominated for King Richard. Do you remember King Richard, the story?
I do. Yes.
Serena and Venus Williams and their parents, and she played their mother. And she was nominated, and I thought she stole the show. I thought I was watching her more, especially when she kind of shouted down Will Smith as the husband. Mm-hmm. I thought, oh, yes, this woman she is dynamite. Well, because of that, she's been getting a lot of really big, big roles. And one of them was this, but she had no clue how they were going to film this thing because they don't have money. They have no budget on this. So she didn't know what this process was until she got to the set. She's all in. Aunjanue Ellis-Taylor. Remember that name? How can I ask about the filming method? What was that like for you? Was it surprising, different, or was it like doing a self-tape?
Oh, I hate self-tapes. So yeah, it was very surprising because I wasn't prepared for it. I mean, RaMell didn't tell people that's what was gonna happen. We read the script, but I'll just talk about myself. I didn't understand what he was going to do until I got to work the first day.
And how do you adjust?
You just have to. You have to. I mean, this film did not have a whole lot of money, so we didn't have hours in the day to figure it out. You just had to figure it out. I did all the things that would have otherwise been enemies or hindrances. I had to embrace them and use it.
Well, what's he like as a director, particularly since he's, starting now with a narrative film? Did you see the documentary filmmaker in him coming out, or what was that like?
Yeah, and that's why one of the reasons why I wanted to work with him so badly is because I just thought that the work that he did in Hale County was something that I felt as a Southerner. I felt someone saw my reality in a very interested and concerned and beautiful way. And I knew that he would do something that matched that in his narrative filmmaking. And that's what he did.
You've done a lot of important films, what I would consider important films. Is that a concerted effort where you say, I'm not taking anything unless it has something to say? Or is it you're at a certain point in your career where you can make those decisions? What is that?
Yeah, no, I'm not. God, I wish I was. But I'm not. I would say that I had been in that last maybe 5 to 7 years fortunate in that these kinds of directors who were doing this kind of work anyway reached out to me or they invited me into their filmmaking worlds. But yeah, it is just really, I have been fortunate. I've been fortunate that what I do when I'm not making movies is this kind of work. So, yeah, it's been a fortunate convergence of that.
Did the Oscar nomination change things? Is that a game changer or not?
I think King Richard was, changed the game. I mean, even before I got the nomination, I started getting, more calls and stuff. So yeah, King Richard definitely changed my life.
Did you say to yourself early on, it's going to take a while before me to really get those kind of roles? Or were you expecting it right out of the chute?
I expect nothing. I expect nothing. And I'm used to, I didn't start working, 2 years ago. I've been working for a long time. So I'm not used to anybody even paying attention to anything that I do, honestly, let alone, being in things where I don't know, people go see it.
Well, thank you so much for this. This is a really what I would consider one of those important films. So please keep doing more.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks again for that interview. It's always great. The sources you have, the ability you have to get them week in and week out really makes this show a great listen, I think, in my humble opinion.
It's like, oh, God, he's going to talk to somebody else now. Great.
Yeah. Oh,
it's fascinating because I am on some of these critics lists. I will get to see a lot of things before most people do. It's fascinating how I'm kind of in that pool right now, trying to figure out what was the best when there are names that are bandied about that you've never heard of. So at night, I am watching like crazy just to see these screeners that are yet to come out in theaters.
Yeah. I know we were just talking about that even in advance of the show of like, the different movies that have been nominated. And it's like, whoa, A Complete Unknown has been nominated. It doesn't even come out until Christmas. You're like, I've already seen it.
I saw it this last weekend. There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Nosferatu, another one that I saw over the weekend that comes out on Christmas Day as well. So I guess I don't have to go out on Christmas Day.
There you go.
I'll be cooking.
If it's snowing hard in Iowa, you won't be heading out.
Yeah, I'll be in anyway. We'll be seeing things. But
all right.
I'm racing through it, and now I'm in foreign films. So I'm looking at all the foreign films, and that's a lot of reading to do. Can I just tell you?
Yeah.
The subtitles, folks, we've got to learn how to put dark type on light screens and light type on dark screens, because it's very hard to watch yellow on white.
That's right. My struggles with Shogun are well documented.
Well, and you know how you want to look away? There is a moment in most films where you want to either look at the popcorn if you're eating that, or check your phone, and I know that's something you shouldn't do. But there are times when you want to not have to be reading, and you want to look at the screen or the scene that they've created.
Well, thank you again for those interviews. Thank you all for listening, and we'll be back again next week with another episode of Streamed and Screened.